And welcome to Mixed Media Live. This is going to be a little bit different than normal. Feels a little weird to be on the podcast alone. It happened once, I think, only before, where I didn't have at least a guest host with me. But hopefully I can hold down the fort and entertain you for maybe around an hour and a half. And, I dropped something, off to a good start. So hopefully what this episode will be is a little bit of a change of pace. I actually see Nathan, who is a co-host in the chat, and he says, "Oh, it feels weird to be on the other side." And this is the first time he's hearing the intro song, and that's because he can't hear the broadcast audio when we have our little Skype powwow. But this should be a little bit different. What we're gonna do is we're gonna sort of riff about some mini topics, maybe. You can comment whatever you want. And I really want to get questions about literally anything. So it doesn't matter how... I mean, there are some things I will not answer. Like, if you ask me, like, hey, what's your social security number? That's not going to be answered, right? But, super, super, super private things obviously aren't going to be answered. But practically everything else, right? Like, I'm a pretty open book. I have no reason to hide a lot of my opinions about a lot of things at this point, especially in my life. So ask me literally anything. My story is interesting if you're new and you're a filmmaker or something like this. I did move, as the title said, from New York City to a small town called Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania, near me. And if you want to ask me questions about why I did that, you can do that, or about anything else, that's fine too. But we're also going to talk about the future of this podcast, this mixed media podcast. Now, before we get into that, I should say what this podcast actually is. So, the Mixed Media Podcast is a weekly live podcast that talks about as if it talks about things, that we talk about a variety of different things related to art, basically. So, whether it's business or reviewing specific things and blah, 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 we talk about it from our own perspectives. So typically it's a filmmaker, me, a musician, Ben, who's also a composer and orchestrator and all this stuff, and Nathan, who does game design, 3D modeling, does a little bit of music as well, and some other stuff. So basically, we like to talk about our crafts specifically, but we also like to talk to other people in other crafts, which might be happening relatively soon, but we'll get into it when we talk about the future of the podcast. So yeah, we're just going to hang out for a bit, since the other two aren't here. Nathan is apparently swamped with homework or assignments, and Ben is spending good quality time with family. So yeah, I hope they have fun. Let's see here. Let's see what we got going on Rumble and elsewhere, because my internet has been pretty trash. So if you can hear me, please give me like a +1 or something like this if my audio's good, because I have no one to check whether or not I'm on air, sound good, and everything like that. I'm speaking into the void. So yeah. And give me 1 second, and I'll be able to pull up the on-screen chat, because I'm using a different little chat window to make me big, as, there's no one else on the screen. Oh, this way. No one else on the screen. Okay. Give me 1 second. In the meantime, I will shout out 4 awesome people. We've got 909 Crime, Rob Sharma, Post, and Kai, K. Kairos, on our Discord, who are all supporters for us for $5 a month at mixedmedia.locals.com. There's a lot to say about that later as we talk about the future of this podcast, but it's fantastic to have 4 supporters. They make the show absolutely possible for us to continue on without losing money, which is a motivator. Which is definitely a motivator. Nathan says, I've spent 17 hours on programming homework between today and yesterday. Oh my goodness. Oh, I remember those days for me. Now, let me turn on my light so I don't look so dark. Whoa, blasted. Oh, a little too bright. Let's kill that a little bit. Um, Still a little too bright. There we go. Um, yeah, no, I went to school for computer engineering. If you didn't know, and I know exactly about the long slogs of programming, and it's terrible. Um, Nathan also says it sounds fine, which is good. And needless to say, I do not like Android development. Yeah, I've never developed for Android, so I actually don't even know what the unique challenges are for Android. Um, let me do what I said and pull up the live chat. Let's see, how do I do that? Again. Let's see. Okay, there we go. And while we do talk about stuff today on the podcast, I'm probably going to pull stuff up on the screen and kind of just do things a little bit more live time, more like kind of like the typical just chatting streamer, right? And just kind of just riff along. We'll browse the internet together. We'll have a lot of fun. It should be a good time. Let's see here. Uh, there we go, and then we should be able to pull up the chat like let's see here, like so. Okay, that looks a little bit weird. This chat is ready to display messages. There are messages to display. Very odd. Okay, well, there we go. Let's see here. It still says only. I think my numbers are off. Maybe Rumble's broken. Um, or maybe I did something really bad with the stream or something. Let's see. No, it looks fine. I don't know. My internet has been acting very strange for the past few days, so I don't know if I'm gonna have some weird issues like the view counter not working and stuff like. The most odd things have been super slow that are internet based. My Discord has been slower than watching YouTube videos. Very bizarre stuff. Um, I don't know why that is, so I'm gonna have to contact my internet service provider because I can't troubleshoot it anywhere else. I think it's actually the cable outlet. Okay. In any case, my name is Irving Nestor. I'm a filmmaker and media entrepreneur. I'm a filmmaker out of Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania. And this is a town of 5,000 people. Shout out to Mount Carmel. I have my own YouTube channel. If you check me out at ariella.co/YouTube, that's AURIELA.co/YouTube. You can find my YouTube channel on there. I've got a few videos. I'm kind of one of those people who posts like once a month, practically. Once in every 6 weeks or something, but I like to post really high quality stuff. So if you like looking at pretty things, you like having hope for the future in such a dismal. If you know me, I know I'm like one of the most cynical people. Well, I shouldn't say cynical. You see, here's what it is. Reality is reality, right? Like what is happening is what is happening, right? So if reality is bad and you're always saying it's bad but those statements are always accurate, then you're always accurate. Right? There's no reason to think cynical or not cynical or things like this. But the reality of the state of things is not very good. But I like to add a dose of hope because hope is always required regardless of the reality of the situation, right? In the face of the worst realities, this is especially true. We need to have the most hope, and I try to make hopeful videos to hopefully, interrupt the doom scrolling and give you something pleasing to watch that is hopefully a little healthier for your media diet than what usually comes across on your screen. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to start with a few news items, as we typically do, and then we'll go on to some more serious topics, and hopefully we'll have some people stop in. I know some people were saying they're interested in stopping in to ask some questions, so we'll do that as it comes over time. Okay, news. So first is an I told you so, right? And y'all know that I like to say I told you so because I know what I'm talking about a lot of the time. And I don't say that out of hubris. I say that because I like being accurate, about the things that I study. So one of the things we talked about on the podcast, it seemed like a little bit of an ad hoc topic, was about bank failures, which had to do with SVB back then, SVB Bank, and had to do with the Fed and all this kind of stuff. My understanding of macroeconomics has changed actually even since we made that episode drastically. I don't think I said anything particularly wrong in that episode. I think it's mostly correct, but my understanding of things evolves a lot over time. So even opinions that I share in this episode, if you're watching this in 2025, they might change by then as well, because again, I'm after accuracy over anything else. But I did make a prediction in that episode that was based off of good principles, which was that more banks would fail. And I made this prediction based off of a bunch of mathematical certainties about the economic markets. One of those mathematical certainties is the price of treasuries versus what a savings account at the maximal savings account at a bank would yield you. The bank was yielding, for the first time in a long time, less than the treasuries would yield you, which means that, to put it short, if you have lots of money, why would you put it in a bank account instead of buy treasuries, buy bonds, right? Why would you do that? And so, as long as rates stayed high enough for that relationship between bonds and bank account yields stayed that way, the deposits would keep disappearing from the bank accounts to reshuffle over to other assets that are not a bank account, which is not an asset. And so, that process has been continuing. The numbers, the charts have been continuing. None of this is a mystery to you if you know where to look, if you know what data to find, and, this was inevitable. So what's the next bank to fall? First Republic. First Republic Bank failed over the weekend, and this is a pattern, and these patterns are not a coincidence that these things happen over the weekend or late on a Friday or something like this. It gives regulators, our overlords, some time to figure out what to do about it. First Republic Bank is a huge bank with $90 billion in deposits. Excuse me. And I think something like $200 to $300 billion in assets. So they had $1/3 trillion in assets, $90 billion in deposits. The deposits had a large portion, as before, that were uninsured, because as we all know, as we learned in high school, it has been beaten to our heads because it's on every sign in every bank that you ever entered in your life. You've walked if you walked into a bank before, you see it. The maximum insurance on your bank account that comes from the U.S. government is $250,000. If you put more than that in one account, well, you can say goodbye to the rest of it, or at least a large proportion of what can't be retrieved beyond that $250,000. At these banks, there are a lot of accounts where they're more than $250,000, and lots of people lose money. In the case of First Republic Bank, I have not had time to look up this particular incident in specific, because honestly, this sort of thing isn't really the interesting aspect of these bank failures isn't the particular bank itself. It's not like it's not particularly interesting that First Republic Bank failed, right? I mean, we could talk about all the drama about like this executive, this investment, or whatever, and maybe I fed into some of that drama when I was talking about SVB, because I gave it a lot more weight than I should have given, for sure. And I've learned my lesson a lot about how our macroeconomic system works. If you know what Eurodollars are, then you are way ahead of the average American. And if you would like me to explain that at some point, I can. And we can continue to predict the future because it's quite predictable. But another bank bites the dust, and this will continue on as long as rates continue to raise. More banks will fail, and more banks, particularly, this might be potentially the last American bank to fail or not. That actually is a little bit unclear. I'd have to dive deeper into the numbers to maybe figure that out, but it's certainly not the last large global bank to fail. European banks are going to be dropping like flies. it's going to be nasty. Let me check to see if my little live chat thing is functioning. Oh, it is. It's really tiny. I don't know why it's like that. I set that up a long time ago for this view. Actually, you can see the showtime is not just wrong by one showtime change, but by two, because it says Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. This plate needs some updating. Our show is actually Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's when we do our show. um, but yeah, so this one happened a little bit different in terms of resolution, the First Republic Bank, in the sense that before we had these banks go into receivership with the FDIC, which means they had no more control over their decision making. In order to liquidate assets, to pay for pending withdrawals, and to also do a whole bunch of other stuff to see if they could maximize the amount of withdrawals before they send FDIC checks to the people involved. The SVB Bank and Signature Bank, they went completely bust. They went bankrupt. I mean, they filed for bankruptcy. Actually, Signature Bank, it might be a little bit more complicated, but let's just stick with SVB Bank, which filed for bankruptcy and, went completely bust. First Republic Bank never filed for bankruptcy. They just went into receivership, and before they could become bankrupt, by the time Monday bell opening happened, JP Morgan bought up the company. I don't know if I know if the amount is known. I'd have to go look that up. Again, I'm not particularly read up on this particular case. I'm more interested in the macro. But they were bought out by JP Morgan, and JP Morgan now owns First Republic. This kind of behavior is not an accident. A bank doesn't fail specifically always over the weekend for any particular financial mechanical reason, right? It purposely fails over the weekend. The regulators come in and they say, "Can you please fail over the weekend instead of on Thursday? Can you please fail on Saturday instead of on Tuesday? On Friday, close to bell close or close to business hours closing instead of Monday," right? Because what they want is time to react to the whole thing, put out the messaging. We've talked about this before, and tell you what to think about how bad things are, so that you don't go running to your bank's bank accounts and withdraw the money from there, thinking that your bank will also fail, which, depending on the bank, maybe it could. So that's how that works. And in this particular case, they were able to find a buyer before business hours opened on Monday, which calmed everyone down because the assets got bought out. The bank accounts got backed by a very large bank with infinite money, basically. And, we're told that we're supposed to think that everything is okay. Everything is not okay. And that's kind of part of the whole, reality is kind of negative right now. And that's just being real. That's just how reality works. Okay, let's see here. So that's First Republic Bank. I told you so. That bank failed. What's next in the news? Another money sort of related topic. Mario, the Super Mario movie that surprised the world for being, I guess, not cringily steeped in Disney-isms and I don't know, all the sort of required woke entrapments and stuff like this. Trappings. I don't want to say entrapments. Trappings. And Mario, I don't know anything about the movie besides that. I actually didn't even realize that was the reason why a lot of people liked it until a lot later. So that's apparently the reason. I have not seen it, and maybe I will see it eventually, but I'm not sure. But it has crossed the $1 billion threshold. $1 billion threshold. This movie crossed $1 billion in ticket revenue. Box office. That is a big deal for what should look like on paper a typical children's 3D animated sort of second-rate movie with some famous voice actors to hopefully get the parents to pay attention, right? Nathan says we got to add a Mario emoji just for that. Honestly, Honestly, if you get on that, yeah, I'm totally down. um, but that's a huge deal. It's a huge deal because I've talked about this a million times on the podcast, a million times. Streaming does not make publishers rich. It does not. Netflix is not getting rich off of your $14 subscription. They are running on fumes. They're running on debt. These gigantic Silicon Valley startup, what used to be startups, these things typically run on an infinite debt scheme, hoping that one day they can make themselves solvent enough to actually cut themselves a check with their cash flow. On paper, they run negative almost all the time, Netflix included. Disney Plus, as a unit of Disney itself, runs at a negative. It runs on debt because when you used to buy movies in the store, how much did the disc cost? It costed you $14 just to buy the disc. One disc costs you $14. Now they're giving you an unlimited library, not unlimited, but a vast library of material, and telling you that this actually makes a lot more money because they get more customers on the platform. This is a complete lie. The box office numbers, when you go look at them, the box office makes a lot more money than the streaming services ever will because you pay $10 to $20 for a ticket. That for a ticket for one screening. You understand what I'm saying? The disparity? The other lie that we're told is that data management is just a no problem. We just expand servers every other day, right? Like we take our data center with all the movies on it, and we just get more user. We just copy paste the data center. That's what we're told by these companies, that this just all works out at the end. All of those data centers run at a loss. All of them. Because it's so expensive to run these things. It's extraordinarily expensive to run movies, especially. Like if you know anything about film production, about video production, I mean, I have a 12 terabyte drive right now on NAS, in my NAS, my network attached storage. I thought that would last me a year, and I just post basically once a month. I mean, I do work for other people as well, so there's stuff like that on there as well. That 12 terabytes has lasted me 6 months. 12 terabytes. And I don't make movies. What is that? What? What on earth just happened on... Let's see. Is this the same for all the chats? Let's see. I think it is. I think the website effed up. Oh, this is probably part of my internet issues. This is definitely part of my... This feels like one of the weird things that have been happening on the internet. Nathan says, I watched a video on how Discord expanded their infrastructure to handle the trillions of messages on this thing. It's kind of crazy. Now think about that, but for video streaming. Exactly. It is impossible to do this on a net positive basis with such low monthly subscriptions. We all like it, but it's not realistic. It doesn't make economic sense. And our society is debt-driven. We have an artificially debt-driven society. This is not capitalism. This is not capitalism that we're witnessing unfold. We have an artificial ability to borrow, which is symptomized by the same thing that we're seeing with these bank failures, which is that the government ends up being the backstop financier for all your debt, which means that you pay for it with your taxes down the road. You pay for it with your taxes. Or with your inflation, which is a hidden tax. So before I go on a rant about that, my whole point is that Mario making $1 billion, every time these movies that aren't supposed to make that much money make tons of money, and the movies that are supposed to make money make no money, every time this occurs, it sends a shock into the Hollywood system. This amount of money can't be ignored, right? Like, if it was just like a 10% difference of what you normally expect, like plus or minus, for any particular film, yeah, they would ignore you. They would continue down their terrible path of destroying filmmaking as it stands. But the 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 way it's going right now is these gigantic swings. This money does not get ignored. Greed, right? In Hollywood, there's a lot of it. There's a lot of greed, and there's a lot of people who are like, I actually just want to keep doing the thing that makes me tons of money. You understand? And they will vie for the position to make that happen. This is what we want. We want to take advantage of the greedy people. We don't want greedy people, but we'll take advantage of them to save cinema from its terrible, tragic demise as we speak. And the other thing is that whenever Disney doesn't make the multiple that they expect to make on Star Wars or the next Marvel movie or whatever the hell, whenever that occurs, I'm going to reload this chat thing because it's really messed up right now. Hopefully I can fix it. But whenever this happens and they take an L on the multiple, so usually Disney's making like a 10x multiple, right? At least 10 to 100x multiple on the money they put into a film, which is why film is so profitable. That's why films used to be made all the time and all kinds of films, because they're not easy to make money off of, right? You could easily fail, which is kind of the other side of the whole thing. But when you do succeed, you 10x, 100x, if you're lucky, not lucky, but if you got a huge thing like Star Wars, you multiply money like crazy. Sorry, trying to fix this chat issue over here. Let's see if I can reload the page. Because that's basically an internet page that is writing to the screen there. Okay, hopefully it works now, although the chat is gone. But that's okay. What was I saying? Something about oh yeah. So every time they don't make the multiple they expect to make, their investors are not happy. And their investors oftentimes include a large chunk of greedy people who don't give a crap about whatever politics or like whatever, like they just want to make more money, right? They just want to make a multiple themselves. And they're expecting a certain amount of growth coming from a particular industry. Now, Disney will continue to lie to their own investors and say streaming eventually will become, we'll just destroy Netflix. We'll just destroy Apple TV. We'll just destroy all of our competitors, or buy them, right? In the case of like Hulu and ESPN, we'll just buy or destroy everything that we possibly can, and this will be enough for us to take so much of the world market that we can afford to sell a $14 or whatever dollar subscription at a profit. Yeah. Guess what will happen probably before that ever happens? The destruction of the medium itself. Right. So like the interest in film will go to zero before they probably will make any meaningful amount of money. So yeah. Well, anyway, that's the that's the $1 billion Mario thing. If we can keep doing stuff like this, it'll help drastically. Okay. Let's see. So, what's going on in my personal life? So, what happened in my last week? So, it feels so weird talking about like me or like thoughts about anything like without someone to bounce. Like, I feel like I'm just talking at nothing, like truly, which I guess I do on my YouTube channel, but it's like, it's not live, it's going to be edited. But here on the podcast, I'm definitely used to just like, when I'm talking about my week, I'm talking about co-hosts, with a sort of attention to the fact that there's also other people listening. So it's really weird to talk about my week. But I got to judge this awesome art competition that happened over the weekend. And it was basically a game jam for animators, if you get what I mean. They had one day to, to animate, come up with a concept, animate it, do all the drawings. They did the traditional way, by hand, no tablets, by hand. And not every frame is drawn, but like all the animations are drawn. We're not making like line adjustments in Illustrator or Photoshop or something like this for every frame. Instead, what's happening is they're drawing all the animations. I don't know the technical terms in animation, so sorry. But a bunch of high schoolers came in, and they basically had 8 hours to come up with something up to 30 seconds that would promote a nonprofit that was going to give them some money, a prize money for having the winning one. That was super interesting. I didn't know that much about animation. I actually ended up recording the little crash course that the person who was organizing the whole thing and ended up doing at the beginning to make sure everyone was up to speed. So that will probably, maybe, I'm not sure, it'll probably be a free post on our locals. Just because I don't want to make money off of his off of his work, and I will be sharing the video with him for him to use on his own site and stuff like this, and obviously get his permission. But you should be able to see that easily on mixedmedia.locals.com, which is our support page, and on there you'll see some information on animation if you're interested. So that was my week, and then I got to judge, and that was cool. And the underdog won. I voted for the underdog. The underdog won, and I'm happy for them. And I might be working with them on some video aspect of their project for the same nonprofit in the future. So that was kind of fun. Okay, so we have something serious to do next before we talk about the future of the podcast or anything like this. We have to do something we haven't done in a long time, which is bribe. If you don't know what a bribe is, it is simply a brew pipe. Now, I am also simultaneously broadcasting this onto YouTube. We're on YouTube, Rumble, and Twitch. And YouTube has a policy. What Nathan says, the memory is coming back. What does that mean? Memory's coming back. Oh, of what it is. Okay. is a brew pipe. And for YouTube, for the bots on YouTube, this is not a tobacco related. I'm not being facetious. Like it's not a tobacco related product. So please don't take down this video because I'm smoking on stream or something like this. I'm not. This has no tobacco in it. It has only coffee, and we're gonna brew a bribe together. But I forget how to brew a bribe because I haven't bribed in a long time. So what we're gonna do. This is my substitute for bringing whiskey on stream because I was wanting to sip on some whiskey, but I'm trying to be a little healthier. I'm on and off with that, but trying to put a nail on that and eat a little healthier, drink a little healthier. So let's avoid the whiskey, unless you pay me. I will take shots of whiskey for money. So if you want to super chat me, I'll do that. But what I can do is I can enjoy a nice bribe, which I haven't done in a long time. So we have to watch the bribe video together, obviously, if my internet will cooperate, so that we can learn from the founder himself how to do this whole bribe thing. Let's see if I can pull this up real quick. And if you're confused right now, you're just tuning in. This podcast isn't Ask Me Anything, as well as just a riffing session because my two co-hosts aren't here today, so we're just kind of relaxing and talking. So, if you have any like random questions, like don't be afraid to derail me. Just derail me. I will answer your question and be happy to answer it. So, here it is. I'm so excited. Is this the right way to do this? Wow, what a frame to stop on. But let's see. Okay. You guys can't hear that probably. Let me turn on the audio so we can hear. But we're gonna learn how to bribe from the founder himself, and you're gonna see what it is.
So I invented this sweet little device, the coffee brew pipe, so you never have to be without a shot of coffee. Here we go. You ready? A little bit of coffee, a little bit of water, our blue flame lighter.
This guy's pretty simplistic about it.
Make sure we hit 185.
185, got it.
Cool down just a little bit.
So that plate down there actually is pretty cool. It's a copper. The whole thing is a copper construction. So you've got this copper base that the whole thing sits on. This is, by the way, a ridiculous thing to make coffee out of. I'm not taking. If you think I'm taking myself seriously while brewing coffee out of a pipe, I am a coffee nut. But this is not. This is pure joy, right? This is just for the joy of brewing coffee in pipe form, right? So the whole construction though is actually really intelligently made. So this base over here is copper, just like the body. Copper is heat conductive, which if you have a flame lighter, right, we need to actually brew, bringing things up to brewing temperature. Copper is nicely conductive, but we have a copper base plate, which sort of connects into this bottom bit down here, like so. And, you can just sit it down. You think it's just a stand, but if you think about it, there's a lot of surface area between the base sort of divot here in the bripe and this upper cone over here. And this heat conduction happens really efficiently. And this thin, wide copper plate allows a lot of cooling to happen. So this cooling emits a lot of heat, which cools this whole thing down to drinking temperature quite rapidly. So this inventor right here, he didn't just make a pipe and said put coffee in it. He put a little bit of work into it. Let's finish out how we do this.
Wow. That's delicious, man.
Delicious.
You be the barista. Sit anywhere on any...
Okay. We're pretty much done. Except I don't have this beautiful backdrop of this of this waterfall to drink my bripe to. Oh, if only I had a live green screen stuff going on. Maybe I could sort of composite it behind me with the green screen that I've set up in this room. But I mean, look at him. How could you not want a bribe? I'm not sponsoring this. I'm not sponsored. This is actually not an ad at all. My wife got me this gift of a bribe. I think it was either for was it for Christmas? Either for Christmas or for my birthday. And because if you know James Hoffman on YouTube, he's a big coffee YouTuber. He posted a video about this thing, and I immediately fell in love, just as he did, probably for the same exact reasons. So there we go. We have to have a beautiful backdrop, but we don't have that. So instead, you're just going to have to deal with some bripe action the way I know how on stream right now. So we're going to follow the instructions. So we're going to get some coffee. Obviously, he didn't say how much coffee. Now, I pre-ground this coffee. This is not anything bad. It's no tobacco. It's just coffee. And I pre-ground this in my grinder. I had no idea how much I needed, so I just filled the tube, and I'll just use whatever's remaining later. He did not say either how much I need. So I guess I'll kind of... Is there a marker in here? Let's see. I don't know if you can see. There's not really... There's a marker in here. So we're gonna I think from memory, I think you're supposed to do it up until the top of this cone thing that's on the inside there. So we're just gonna do that and hope for the best. So we got our coffee, and we're gonna do that. There we go. Hopefully I have the grind size correct. Oh gosh, exploded. That is way more coffee than I needed, and I have a mess as well. But if you're briping in the middle of the woods, obviously this wouldn't matter to you at all. You would I mean, what do you think about grind size while you're griping? That's ridiculous, right? Um, see if I can get the coffee out, but we're not going to be precise, obviously. I'm making a massive mess on my desk. It's going to be fun. Take care of later. Okay. Oh, no. Still too much. Okay. There we go. And, not elegant. Not elegantly done. But now that we've got the coffee in, we need some water, and I'm just going to use the water I've been drinking, of course, to fill this. I think, to the lower brim here. Let's see if I can do this properly. Okay, there we go. This is not very much liquid. I also spilled a little bit there too. Whatever. This is not that much liquid, so a briping session isn't that long, right? And now we need our little thermometer. I didn't see him stir it. I mean, he is the inventor, so maybe I shouldn't stir it, but like, my coffee brain cannot permit me to not at least just freaking stir it, right? So let me stir this. It's like an even wetness on all the beans, or on all the grinds in here. So stirring it with the thermometer. I think I'm lacking a little bit of water because I want to maximize my bripe session. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. And now we've got our... Look at this thing. This is absurd. And our beautiful blue flame lighter. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can. There you go. Our beautiful blue flame lighter. And we'll get to briping. We'll get to briping. Now, if you want to connect the concept of coffee to one of our episodes that we've done in the past, I have done an episode called How Coffee Can Help You Appreciate or Understand Art or something like this. Go look it up. It's actually pretty good, I think. And you can learn lessons from brewing coffee about how to make more of your life, how to make a more interesting life. Okay, so here we go. He said, what, 185? Am I remembering that correctly? Tell me if I'm wrong. I think it'll take a little bit to get this going anyway. But now we just go for it. And this might take a moment, but we'll get this brewing. I actually already feel the metal reacting to this. Okay, so while this is going on, this is absurd. While this is going on, let's talk about the podcast a little bit. Hopefully the sound of the lighter isn't disturbing you too much. But basically, with the podcast, we are eternally grateful for our great 4 locals subscribers who have done a lot to help push the podcast forward by being subscribers. I was able to pay our annual bills recently without having to ask my co-hosts to pitch in, right? It just came right out of our account. Let's see what temperature we're at. Only at 85. Need more. Now, I think he does it like this, if I remember correctly. But this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, the surface area is all in that little cone, like I said. And if you do it on one side, like, you'll end up burning, like, one side of the coffee in there, and not the other. So this is why I'm doing it underneath like this, even though it looks not as cool. So our 4 local subscribers are awesome. And one thing that we haven't had the opportunity to do is to have a close community with some nice perks and stuff that we could share with y'all. Let's look at the temperature again. 100. All the butane needed. All the butane. Oh, hopefully I'm not running out. I have some extra butane lying around somewhere. But the locals page is changing. If you don't know, on our Discord, or if you go to our locals, if you're on Rumble right now, you can click the big red button that says join. That will bring you to our locals page. And if you don't know, if you're new to the whole experience, locals is actually free to join. Like, you can make a locals account without paying anything, and you can see our page and some of our free posts without paying a single thing. And we haven't really been doing much with it because we haven't had local supporters. We had one local supporter for a bit, but then we now have 3 more awesome, kind people who have joined and have been really awesome to talk to on our Discord as well on locals. So now we're ready to level up that whole experience. So if you want to check out the full list of perks, you can go check it out over there. But I want to explain for a bit where we're going with that and how it currently works. So the current way it works is that it's a sort of package deal. It's a locals community that includes both perks for the podcast, for the Mixed Media podcast, and perks for Ariella, which is my company's YouTube channel. My company's called Ariella, so I guess it's perks for my company as well. Meaning that when you join for $5 a month, you get perks from both. Now, we don't really have much exclusive content here on Mixed Media. We're at 160, almost there. We don't have much exclusive content here on Mixed Media yet, and we could get there if we had a little bit more subscribers to make it worthwhile. So a lot of our posts, if you go over to their exclusive posts and free posts, are related to my YouTube channel. Let's see if we're there yet. 170. This takes forever. One of the cons of griping. So if you go on there right now, you'll see a lot of posts that are Ariella related. Now, originally, I didn't know that admins to the locals could post as if it is the community. I should have known that because I'm in locals places that do stuff like that. And I should have known that that was a thing, but I forgot. So early on, I was posting Ariella-related content also as mixed media and just denoting that it was Ariella-related content. Now, if it's posted by Ariella, the content is going to be Ariella-based. If it's posted by the mixed media account, then it's going to be mixed media-based. I'm asking the locals some tech support because they're actually quite flexible, and I highly recommend you do your support on locals only, by the way. Just because they're so awesome over there. Highly recommend. Oh, I can feel some bubbling going on in here. 185. There we go. 185. So now we just put our bripe on our little stand here. And we let it sit until it comes down to a nice and cool 140. At which point I think it will be brewed. Now, my coffee brain also can't help but to stir this too, so I'm going to do that. Stir the top bit, not the cake at the bottom, just to get all this stuff on the top down. Okay. But if you want to help us out, definitely go on there. You can make an account for free, and that should explain some of the organization that's on there. The pinned post will also have a list of perks. So that's the updates on the content that you'll find on there. In terms of the Discord, which has a lot of the perks for mixed media itself, right? So if you're mostly interested in supporting mixed media and you want mixed media related perks, they mostly live on Discord. You get a Discord role for being a local supporter, and you also get your own locals chat, where we can sort of have our own conversations. Those conversations have been a little bit more closed and whatnot, and it's been nice to sort of get to know local supporters in that way. But you also get access to a work-in-progress project that actually might take me a little bit longer than expected to construct, just because I realized it was a little bit more complicated, which is kind of creating a community knowledge project that works through Discord forums as its primary sort of medium. Discord forums in order to sort of create a wiki type experience. And I thought about it for a few seconds because I was just going to make it sort of rather informal, and it's not going to be too formal anyway. It's not going to be as formal as like Wikipedia or something like this. Um, but what it is going to be is it's going to be highly functional. That's really because if you haven't seen our last episode or the episode before that about guilds, we talked about the concept of a guild and how it needs to return in order for the arts to flourish again. You know, whether and that was Nathan's topic. He was talking about it a lot in terms of gaming, the gaming community, and how we can sort of lift each other up in a sort of non-complicated manner by not being not competitors to each other, but by sort of associating for the sake of a greater goal. And I thought that was a fantastic idea that I've sort of heard on the periphery before, but he put it in such a way that I really understood what he meant. So this idea that mixed media could be a guild, our Discord could be a guild. I think we have something like 40, 45 members on our Discord. Could be the place where we sort of organize our thoughts as artisans, you know, in our particular fields. We have musicians on there of all kinds of musicians, whether it's electronic or classical or media based or whatever. All kinds of artists on there, and they share all the time the most niche sort of insights on their little crafts, on their little craft, right? Their little corner of their craft, right? And we also talk a lot about, you know, ideas that we have and et cetera, et cetera. The idea of this sort of communal knowledge sort of forum-based thing, wiki-type thing, is to sort of create a place that is useful. And it has nothing to do with the idea of creating a place that is maximally truthful or something like this, that will get, you know, us into some sticky territory that all wikis sort of get into. I have no intention of being the encyclopedia of niche artisan knowledge, right? Like, why even try, right? So instead, what our communal sort of knowledge platform essentially will be is a place where we can collaborate on making useful posts. And how that happens, basically, or at least the concept as I had it in my head, and if you have suggestions or you think that I'm thinking about this all wrong, just definitely let me know. But the idea here is to basically have every post be according to the OP, right? So, like, I might make a post that's like how to color grade something, but that you should look at this according to me, right? And if you want to contribute to my article edits, you can sort of formally contribute edits, and I can decide whether to add those edits into my article. And we should not have 100, you know, different color grading, you know, articles on the platform, because most likely the rudiments, at least from one school of thought or one particular common way of doing it, will be the same. So if you don't disagree with anything I said, and you just have more to add to my thing that would make it more useful, or you want to rephrase something or make something more clear, you can say, I want to edit your post, and I would like you to incorporate this edit, and the OP can basically accept or reject. And that's a way for us to efficiently share information with each other, right? About very niche things. And I think people underestimate how much niche topics are left in the art space that are money makers. So, for example, I had to learn broadcast engineering in order to work on this esports concept that has been on my mind for a very long time, and I'm still very gung-ho, very excited about. Nathan says, what about more opinionated things or things unable to be easily verified? Yes. So what I want to do with citations, the notation of citations, is to basically have a way to denote that you are the source for certain things, where a source cannot be found otherwise. So, like, you know, and I think I welcome that very much, you know, that you can just be the source by your own expertise. Let me pull up the chat again, because I just realized that you can't see what Nathan said if you're on Rumble. He said, what about more opinionated things or things things unable to be easily verified? Yeah, so you can just basically cite yourself. Um, and that's okay. And we just want to be transparent about that, right? That's the idea. Is that we know what's someone's opinion and what's based off of someone else's opinion, external to our little forum, and what's an alleged fact based off of something or another, right? I don't want to get into the Wikipedia trap of having reliable sources dictate everything. Um, Putting the chat up did not help. Still has massive Discord logos. Yeah, I know. I know. I should just take it down because it's hideous. My internet's effed up. If you're just coming in right now, I have no idea why it decided to be randomly bad at loading certain things. I have a feeling that my signal is weird coming through the outlet. I might have yanked it. I'm not sure, but that's the idea. Is to basically create a compendium of useful posts. They're not even really like encyclopedia articles, right? Just useful posts. So, and I think what this will end up looking like, especially after Kai after Kai posted his ideas for what he's going to be writing, and I encourage this. Hopefully, this will look like information that is hard to find synthesized elsewhere because it's so niche. Oh, I was mentioning broadcasting for my esports concept for because I'm a media entrepreneur. If you didn't know, I'm looking for funding for it. I'm looking for even a place to house the remote production studio. There's a lot going on into that. If you want to know about that, got to join the locals because I'll be posting stuff about that on there as well. But I have a lot of niche broadcasting knowledge because I put in hundreds of hours into learning broadcasting in the most niche places possible. If you go to YouTube and you try to figure out how to make an esports broadcast, it will be practically impossible. Practically impossible. You will be like, what is this technology? You wouldn't even know how to start. There's no like starter pack for it, right? I could probably make a YouTube channel for it and make some money off of it, but for now, I don't have the time for that, right? Instead, what I could do is in my spare time, just make an article about one niche topic to help you understand a little bit more about how NDI works, right? I could just write a post that's about the NDI technology, and then have a whole bunch of information that's well organized, well written, cited as appropriate, and cites me where, maybe I can't find the original source anymore. But then you can always ask me about how I know something, by DMing me or by just discussing in the thread below it. I think that's a really cool idea. Let's see what my bripe is. Oh, it's at 1:30. I'm a little late to the bripe. There we go. First sip. A little burned. I think I ground the grounds a little too fine. The coffee is a little burned. But, this is the bripe experience. And if you're wondering how I'm not drinking grinds right now, there's no paper filter in this. There's just a weird metal screen that is way too not granular to block the grounds from going through. So what's actually happening is pretty cool, is the coffee is self-filtering, like rocks, basically, filter water, and go into the water table, like that kind of thing. Does it self-filter perfectly? No. So you do get some grounds, once in a while. But after the first sip, that tends to actually be pretty clean and clear. That's actually not the worst. It's just a little... It's probably my fault for assuming a much smaller grind than should have been. A little burned. But we'll enjoy our gripe as we talk. There we go. So that's the idea about that. The beta, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, the alpha, I don't know, whatever buzzword you want to throw at at the current state of the whole thing, because it's really not done yet, is only available to local supporters to see. So if you want to contribute to that project at all, you have your own ideas of how we can make a useful page, then please join our locals, $5 a month, and then you'll be able to be on there and influence how that develops over time. I'm still not even sure if I'm going to make it available to everybody permanently. So what may happen is sort of a an open access sort of thing, and then maybe if we hit like 10 local subscribers, I don't know, 20, then we close off editing to the public, or I don't know, something like this. I don't know. We'll have to see how it develops over time. But yeah, if you want to help with that, then that's how that works. And I'm kind of excited about that because Kai was talking about about adding a lot of niche knowledge about procedural generation and AI in games, right? And I have a feeling that this kind of synthesization of things that are very niche can be quite helpful to a lot of people, and we can raise the rising tide. Another thought I've had related to this guild concept is a concept that was brought to me, I think I talked about it briefly in the last episode, was brought to me by a former colleague at my university who wanted to start something guild-like. I didn't realize it at the time. And that kind of sort of fell through. I don't really know what happened to that project, but he had an interesting idea. And if you want to be part of this, please, it's free to do this part. To be part of the guild there's no commission as of now, right? Required. Just go to our Discord. The link is in the description. It's a great place if you're going to be a filmmaker, a game designer, a game dev, or a musician or whatever. Like, join the Discord. You will not regret it. Link is in the description. But one of the things that it could be really cool that we could do, and I'm not sure, this might get a little bit complicated over time. So this is not a now thing. Absolutely not. It just depends on how we grow. Is that we can have sort of a community brand, right, of mixed media, right? And the name of our podcast actually works really well for the name of a guild, the Mixed Media Guild, right? Because it functions the same punny way as it does for the podcast. What we could do as a sort of communal brand is we can say, I am a guild member of Mixed Media, right? Or you don't obviously go up to someone, I'm a guild member of Mixed Media, hire me. Yeah, that's ridiculous. But what we can sort of do is sort of put together a brand that sort of has a sort of cachet about it. And the reason I say this, by the way, is because we have damn good artists in our Discord. And I'm really impressed by them. Like, not to toot my own horn, I'm pretty good at what I do. I already know that. I'm not the best, but I'm pretty good at what I do. Nathan's a great game designer. He knows a lot of concepts and puts a lot of work into a lot of concepts as well. And we've got other great game devs in there as well. We've got Post, we've got Kai, and we've got 99 Crimes. Just freaking awesome people who are doing great stuff. And it's not normal. It isn't normal for people to be great in one community like that, right? So, and then we've got Ben, who's a stellar, I know firsthand, I worked with him on my first short film. He's an amazing composer. He's an amazing musician. I didn't determine that part. That's determined by a plethora of accolades that he has for his flute playing and for his research. He's way too humble on the podcast about his abilities. You probably can tell from his knowledge already that he's a beast, but but I'm telling you that his music is beastly. And it's not a biased thing. I'm a very objective person. It is objectively true, everything I'm saying, to me, at least. Maybe you disagree. So this amazing and we have other people on there too. I don't want anyone to think that they're being left out. To varying degrees of goodness at what they do, and tends to be on the gooder side, right? What we can do is, as of now, this community is open, and maybe it closes in the future. But and there might be a process to join the guild, effectively, right? Some sort of certification. What we can do is create our own little cadre of artists that we can co-vouch for the skill of, not for the content. You know, like when I go around in this theoretical future with my mixed media badge on, or I put the mixed media logo in the credits of my film, or whatever the heck the thing ends up being. It's not a reflection of other people's thoughts that I am sharing with my particular film or my particular project, right? It's a reflection of our artistry, right? It's a reflection of we're co-signing each other's ability, such that if we are successful, and we have very driven people in that Discord, if we are successful, and we do get at least some of us get our names out there, and I know that some of us will end up being quite successful, that we can raise the brand of all of us in this rising tide of the mixed media brand without having to be in a corporate structure, without having to be in a corporate relationship. Almost dropped my gripe there. And say proudly, I'm part of this. It's like a rap group, right? Except rap groups tend to be owned by a record label, but like it's like what a rap group kind of like pretends to be. What's an example of a rap group? Dreamville, right? Which is also a record label, so it's a little bit more complicated than that. But Dreamville has J. Cole. It has some other people in it. They have a similar range of style, right? They have a similar way of looking at the art of hip hop. And Dreamville sort of has a collective cachet, right? So as J. Cole does better, the whole brand of Dreamville gets elevated. I mean, maybe that's a bad example because J. Cole was already huge, but you get what I'm saying. As J. Cole brings up younger artists and puts them on the Dreamville label, gives them the access to that brand, right? Those younger artists get elevated by the entire status of the brand without having to be in the guild universe, without having to be an employee of anybody. And you might be asking, okay, well, why would you do this if you were a competitor? So why would I raise up a filmmaker, to be in my guild to end up being a competitor against me? Because it doesn't actually, we can talk about this in the abstract, but let's just talk about this in our current historical moment. We are in a moment in history with unprecedented centralized control over art by gigantic mega corporations. If you don't know, I'm a distributist. Sounds like communism to some people. It's actually quite anti-communist. I'm very not a communist, that's for sure. But distributism is basically, people nickname it like supercharged capitalism, but one of the features of distributism is this distrust of large anything, right? So distrust of big business and distrust of big government, right? And the reason why is because whenever you have big business, what ends up happening is typically big government, big business combine, and you get big fascism, right? Anyway, I digress. But Nathan says supercharged capitalism. Yep, that sounds like not communism. Lol. Yeah, the goal is actually to maximize the returns on society of competition, right? And the actual commodity of that is not money but human flourishing. It's an interesting idea. Something maybe I'll talk about the podcast in the future, but it heavily affects the arts. In a distributist sort of sense, this guild thing is actually really cool in how you can sort of fight back against not that this this mixed media is not going to take down Disney, right? That's never going to happen. But well, it'd be cool if it did, but realistically speaking, it's almost certainly not going to happen. But what it can do is it can enable artists who don't have enough influence to learn way faster, succeed way faster, so that they can compete way better against an unfair market, right? And when I say unfair market again, you purists, you anarcho-capitalists out there, don't get mad at me. You're like, this is the economic, this is the situation that we want with the maximized big companies that maximize the productivity of society. I don't know, something like this. Yeah, this is a fantasy. This doesn't account for human nature, the problem of power, and the intermingling of government and said things as said things approach the size and influence of a government, right? Like, some of our companies are the size of multiple other countries. Some of them, if you combined a few of them together, they would be bigger than our country. So, as that occurs, the problem of power gets exponentially worse. But I'm not going to get into those specific philosophical discussions just yet, or today. But my point is that the competitor that we should be most concerned about is not our neighbor, is not our fellow awesome artist. It's the corporation that wants to own or destroy that space, or government, right? The corporation or government that wants to own and destroy that space, and or together maybe, right? In the case of Disney and Netflix and that crowd, they are destroying filmmaking via streaming. They're on a race to zero. I explained this at the beginning of the show, right? Streaming is destroying filmmaking. It's not a matter of like the way you consume the thing, right? Like, I'm not even critiquing watching things via your home television or your phone. That's not what I'm talking about. If you just tuned in, what I'm talking about is the financials are just not there, right? So what they are trying to do is to suck all of the money out of the filmmaking industry in the hopes to be the first to monopolize the space, which, if you know anything about what's going on in the film industry, they will destroy the industry before they get there. What we need to do, that is way more existentially harmful to you as a filmmaker, right, than your fellow filmmaker who lives in the same town or same city or whatever, who is also awesome. It behooves you to actually work together instead of fight each other, as long as you're both tolerable people, right? And everyone thinks they're tolerable. But what you do is you instead you have these sort of, you can have these sort of guild structures that instead I say, okay, actually, filmmaker, if you can make it through the doors of Hollywood, if you can get on the inside, if you can get access to a financier who's disillusioned with the strategies of Disney and Warner Brothers, etc., Universal, Netflix, if you can get on the inside of that conversation, you can find the moneymaker who is sympathetic to not wanting to be on this path, and they're there. We know that for a fact. Bring me along with you later. Don't forget me. In fact, you're already branded with the same brand as I am. I am auto there when you're there. You understand? And we're collectively increasing our probability of getting there. So when, I'm not, let's say there's a filmmaker in our Discord who gets that A24 publishing deal, right, for a film that they made. They took a 100K chance, made a great film, and A24 is picking it up. They already are associated with mixed media, right? They already have the brand. Everything branded mixed media. Meaning, there's no way to double cross me actually, like in like a pure sense, right? Like, I'm already associated. And hopefully we create a good atmosphere in which actually you are actively helping other people come through that door and change those spaces for the better, right? We need to take over, we need to pirate, kind of like what Rumble is doing. We need to pirate these spaces. You know, oh, pun intended. It wasn't intended. I just realized there was a pun there. But we need to take those. We need to take those spaces, craftily, in such ways. So please, I urge you, link in the description to our Discord. This might happen, you know, relatively soon. I don't know, but there's a link in the description to our Discord. Join it. You'll, you know, you know, if this actually occurs, you will learn so much off of our Discord, and you will, and it's free to join the Discord. You know, just join the Discord. You know, you will learn so much from us just from the conversations that are happening. You will learn from other artists, which as an artist, you should always, I'm always reading. The most poppin' a thread on our channel, on our Discord, is the gaming channel. I'm always reading all of it. And it's good for you as an artist to do that. So go, even though I don't do any gaming stuff. So go over to the Discord, join it, learn from the conversations that are going on over there. Eventually we'll have a little knowledge base going on with really niche topics that will make you money, hopefully. Or if not make you money, just at least enrich you as an artist. And then what you do, and what we might be able to do as we go forward, is we might be able to make a more formal communal brand, which might take some work, might take some time, but at least if you're here from the start, you can influence that conversation and you can, you know, be part of the guild, you know? So, head over to the Discord for that. But the last thing I have to say about the future of the podcast that I've got, besides, there's a lot of bells and, actually, there's not the last thing. There's two things. One, we're going to do the AI roundtable almost certainly next week. We've been saying this for a long time now, that we're going to do an AI roundtable where we're going to talk about, you know, or AI and art, basically. And there's a lot to say about that. I anticipate the episode being very long. Very, very long. In fact, Nathan, you should expect this episode to go on until, like, I don't know, 11 p.m., midnight. I don't know. We'll see. But you know, I want to have some good people on. Post is joining, which is fantastic. We haven't had to, like, we had a chance to, like, you know, talk verbally with him, and have a good dialogue with him about his stuff. So I'm excited to talk to him. And hopefully we can get some other people on. I won't say names as of yet because people haven't said yes yet. So, but as they say yes, I'll post them on the Discord. Who's going to be on the AI chat? And if you have any suggestions for anybody who might be interested, who might, you know, possibly say yes to being on a small podcast like this to talk about AI and art, please let me know wherever you are. Drop it in the chat or in the comments, wherever I'll see it. Send us an email, whatever you want. Join the Discord. But that's going to be a fantastic, very, very detailed, I suspect, discussion. I'm very hyped for it because I have a lot to say myself. And it's going to be a very free-flowing discussion. So AI Roundtable next week. Then we have Mixed Media Minecraft, which we haven't talked about on the show at all. Or maybe we did mention it a few times. But we've talked about it more on the Discord. And Mixed Media Minecraft is going to be a Minecraft server that I think Nathan's going to be hosting, which is going to... he says yes. Which is going to be a place for Ben, who is a little gaming deprived. If you don't know, Ben is a composer. And he knows a lot about film, he knows a lot about music as well. But gaming, you know, if you've watched our gaming episodes, he's a little clueless sometimes. So what we're going to do is we're going to expose him to things. One of the best ones to expose him to first is Minecraft, obviously. Right? And we might do this on stream. Not might. We will be doing this on stream. So, we're gonna be streaming some gaming stuff for the first time. I'm kind of hyped. I'm very hyped, honestly, for this to happen. This is gonna be in addition, so we're probably gonna have like a few hours set aside on top of the podcast. We have a poll actually in our Discord about what day and time. The poll's closed, unfortunately, for y'all. But we'll decide a time based off of that poll, and what we'll be able to do is invite people onto the server. So you don't have to be a local supporter. Anyone can join the server as long as you're not being a disruptive. And join the stream. Be on stream, talk and chat, have some fun. Lounge around in Minecraft, and as Ben probably dies 1,000 times. Then what we might do after that is we might do a hardcore run with Ben, which that's crazy, and beat the game at hardcore. And if Ben dies, then we all that it's over. Ben must live, the entire time. So we'll be doing that. So look forward to that. And I had another thing to say about stuff that's going on, and now I forget. I forget. But there's a lot of interviewees that I have lined up as well, of local artists around me that I've been meeting, especially lately. There's a artist who does sculpture work, video work. What else does he do? Murals, etc., etc. Who's a local artist, super interested. Kai says, discussing rules for mixed media Minecraft hardcore. We're not currently discussing the rules, but sorry. Oh, I don't know what I did there. We're not currently discussing the rules, but if you have some contributions about that, then we can talk about them. Is kind of running out of things to talk about here. But what was I saying? Yeah, I have a bunch of local artists who are sort of on tap, so to speak, to talk to about a variety of different topics. So the artist I was just referencing, to talk to him about local art in general, and his particular story. Kai says, you made a comment about Ben must live. Oh, yeah. That's the only rule I've thought of so far. Ben must live. I have a feeling it might end up just being a bunch of us being Ben's bodyguard and making sure, at all times that we die before he does. Ben must live. But Ben should live IRL too, obviously. Yes, definitely. But what was I saying here? So, so I've got that. I've got the animator who is running the competition on tap as well, for an interview. So I've got a few interviewees. There's a person who's building a art studio out of an old, a really old church, abandoned church, in a town adjacent to me, even tinier than my own town. Probably has a few hundred people in it. And what she's doing in there, she's making stained glass, which is super cool. So get to talk to a stained glass artist. So there's a couple of cool interviews coming down the pipe that I'm super excited for. And Nathan, am I missing anything on the future of the podcast, stuff that's going to be happening? This let's see here. Nothing you can think of. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. What was I gonna do here? Yeah, we've been streaming for like an hour and a half. I said an hour and a half. Kind of on target there. Let's just make sure I have... Oh, I had one more thing to run by y'all. Which is... I've always wanted to add a soundtrack to Arguing with Reddit. I made a soundtrack a long time ago, based off of music that's found on Artlist, right? So I'm an Artlist. I have an Artlist subscription. So this is royalty free for me, and I use it for my business stuff. And I compiled a bunch of like I don't know, like 80s stuff, or 80s inspired stuff for the background music, retro. So I'm gonna actually put that in my editor right now. We're gonna play it back, and you tell me whether this should play during arguing with Reddit. Or if I'm whacked out of my mind, it'll be super distracting and annoying. Because that's why I've been hesitating up until now. Is is I'm scared that I'll make a very annoying stream. But the playlist is 40 minutes long, so there's gonna be like no repetition basically of music during arguing with Reddit. And by the time it does repeat, well, I don't think you'll remember the first thing you heard. But of course, it'll be very low in the background. Why can't I find it? I had this loaded up a moment ago. It's loaded up again. While I'm doing this, if you have any questions, I know Kai just chopped in, and I don't know if he had questions for me for the Ask Me Anything aspect of this whole thing. But if you got questions, let me know, and I will answer them on the fly. I'm okay spending another 30 minutes just kind of answering random questions. Let's see here. Audio, browse. Let's see here. Assets. AWR soundtrack. There we go. Okay. So, I'm going to play it. I don't know. It'll probably come out loud. I actually don't know how it's set. So we're going to play this now, and then I'll get into some questions. So here we go. Okay, that's obviously way too loud. Let's bring that way down. Way loud, way down, way down. Let's see. Why do I do that? Forget. This sounds nice and menacing for Reddit. Why is this? Why can I change the volume? Oh, I'm in the wrong page. There we go. Am I in the wrong page? Oh, I found it. My bad. Alright. Alright. So it'd be more like this, probably. Or maybe less. I don't know. You tell me if this is too loud. Let's see. 35. Yeah, both channels are equal now. So yeah, we'd be talking like this, blah, 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 arguing with Reddit, yada, 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 yada. Is this like, sounds like a bootleg song from the Mirai Sekai EP. That's not inherently a bad thing. Okay, I've never heard of that EP. But this is whatever's on Artlist. Oh, and Kai, if you don't know what this is, there's no tobacco in here. This is called a bripe. I am drinking coffee out of it. Let's see here. Oh, Nathan put a link to the EP or song. I kind of want the next song to come up, so I can't. I don't think there's a way for me to like move forward in the playlist. Oh, I killed it. Come on. There we go. There is a way for me to move forward in the playlist. Alright. It's another random point. Is this the right volume? Like, is this annoying? Maybe it's a little loud. I think it's a little loud. Let's see here. Oh, Nathan says it's actually kind of quiet to him. Interesting. So maybe this is the right level then. I want it to be just like a nice, just to pick up the pace of the podcast a little bit. And if you think we should have like some backing track to everything, I mean, so for me, like for like music for educational stuff, I hate backing tracks because it's like, I don't know. There's something about the like slight extra attention loss, even if it's really quiet in the background, that really bugs me. Like, I really would rather just have a clean signal if I'm going to listen to someone tell me about a very specific topic for an hour, right? But let me know if there should be a backing track to the whole podcast. The other problem I have with the backing track for the whole podcast is that for post-editing, it makes it a nightmare because it gets baked into the stream audio. So then if we're like cutting and chopping things, it gets really annoying. Kai says, YouTube research tells me any game design talk actually requires lo-fi hip-hop. Pretty sure it's a law. Oh yeah, lo-fi hip-hop has become very common these days. Do you guys know what this is genre I learned about recently called, let's see if I can find it. Phonk, I think. Phonk. Which is a very like very specific subgenre of like lo-fi. Nathan says I don't know what it actually is though. By the way, the chat is rolling, but our thing is effed up. I'm gonna pull it up so people can see that I'm trying to show everyone the chats that are going on. But yeah, Phonk is interesting. I watched this very interesting video about how it relates to metal, and it's actually really surprising. If you try to metalify Phonk, you get basically like 2000s era nu metal, which is very weird. Actually sounds a little bit better, I think, than 2000 era nu metal because it's got a little bit more breathing room in the guitar, where the synth kind of lives, in the way that some people have conceptualized it. But anyway, that's a really random comment. Let's go back to Kai's question. So he says, favorite genre of video game and top 5 in genre. Okay, so I am definitely not a gamer. But I do play games casually. So, whatever I say, don't crucify me. I'm actively trying to learn about the more sort of artisanal approach to gaming through my co-host and through our Discord. So, don't judge me. But genre of game. Let's see. What would be a good genre of game? I'm very into creative games, but I don't know how to class. So I guess the genre I spend the most hours of my life in is city builder games. I don't know what the wider genre of that would be. But I know that the general group of games is classified as city builders. But I pretty much only play one city builder, which is City Skylines. I have hundreds of hours in City Skylines, I presume at least. And my Steam count is not accurate, just because I leave the game open all the time, because I just kind of work on my city, every so often when I need a break. But I find a lot of peace in building games. Just because, like, they're so low pressure and they're self-driven. So, like, I don't actually have to develop... I don't have to develop, like, hardcore skills in order to enjoy something, right? I guess that's weird because I really like Rocket League as well. Nathan says, so RimWorld would be in that umbrella. Maybe. Yeah, I know very little about RimWorld. But I have seen some random stuff from it, but I didn't get the impression. But maybe I should check it out. Check it out more. But the thing is, like, City Skylines is the only read message above. If you, I did miss it. Colony management might be the umbrella genre. Seriously, games have the worst genre names. Yeah, I found that out. But you know, City Skylines is kind of the only game in that genre that I've enjoyed. I've played a few others, but like, it's just the mods. I play like I'm a YouTuber, and I probably should stream when I play City Skylines because I make very detailed, very elaborate cities. When I say cities, I mean I've been working on this one city in detail for the past year, and I'll be working on it until, you know, it's done, and it might take me a few more years. Just because, like, it's so satisfying to see sort of an area come to life and look really good. There's such a plethora of mods for City Skylines that make it bearable to do such things in. The game and its engine are just awful. It is such a bear to work with. So City Skylines 2, as long as they don't bumble it, should be a welcome development. But you know, I can't abandon my city. I've been working on it for so long. I've so many hours into it, and it's become like a piece of artwork, basically. And if you've seen YouTubers on play City Skylines with super high detail, I play like that too. So, yeah. Let's see here. What other genres might I be particularly interested in? But so, okay, here's a weird thing. So I guess really the anything that's creative, like creator stuff, right? Because I also like Planet Coaster because I like coasters, roller coasters, right? Really random. I'm a really random person. If you don't know what an ENTP is, look up an ENTP and just, like, understand that I'm insane. So look up ENTP and you'll understand that I'm a thoroughly insane person. My brain is always, like, working in 1,000 different directions, and sometimes it feels like the worst handicap ever. But trying to harness it has become a project that will probably be a lifelong project. Ooh, the music now is pretty nice. Yeah. I like this playlist. I like it. I use this in one of my YouTube videos, actually. Yeah, so yes, Nathan says sandbox games, yeah. I think so. You know, I really enjoyed Minecraft when I used to play it a lot. I think actually the game didn't develop in the same direction that I kind of wanted it to. I wanted it to develop in a less linear fashion, if that makes sense. But it kind of developed in a more linear fashion. I wanted to be given more crazy things to do instead of an end game. That's what I was concerned with more. Not that they should care about me, but I guess that tells you something about the way I play things. But at the same time, I love a good story in a game, so I don't really know. Like, I love story-driven games a lot, which are super linear, right? But I guess that comes from the movie aspect of my background. Like Last of Us is you know, top 3 games I've played. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. I can't come up with a singular genre. I'm a crazy person. I like too many things, and I don't even play enough games in one genre probably. Kai says, speaking of crazy things to do in Minecraft, I am now thinking of crazy things to do while keeping Ben alive. Yeah, if you missed it, Mixed Media Minecraft is going to be happening. We're going to be playing hardcore. If you want to join, link is in the description to our Discord. we'll be posting links to our server on there. As long as you're not going to be crazy, we're going to be playing hardcore with someone who's never played Minecraft before, who's our resident composer, and it should be super fun watching him attempt to not die and watching us attempt to not let him die. So, link is in the description to that. Any other questions? Any other interesting questions for me? You know what? Arguing with Reddit is going to have a soundtrack. That's what I've decided. I just like it for me alone. Like, just listening to it is just nice. Knowing it's like a 40-minute playlist. Let's see here. Okay, if we have no more questions, that's totally fine. Oh, music genre. Nathan says, favorite music genres. That's really tough. That's so tough. So, I've been so disappointed. I haven't enjoyed music in a personal sense in a long time. And it's just like new stuff that's coming out doesn't excite me across genres, like, very much, with a few exceptions. I feel like the music space has become so stagnant, and that sounds weird because, like, there's so much access to platforms to post on and all this, but everything feels so, like, algorithmic, and I'm just not terribly interested in a lot of what people have to contribute to the music space. And I listen to a lot of different stuff, or attempt to, at least. I just don't feel inspired by any of it. Yeah, but okay, if I had to pick genres in no particular order, let's see. Okay, well, again, we get into the weird subgenre thing. We could go as granular as humanly possible, especially in music. Okay, I'll give you broad strokes as to what I listen to, because I listen to, like, pretty much everything. So I listen to classical music, I listen to Gregorian chant, but I also listen to hip hop. I listen to EDM sometimes. I'll listen to metal, particular subgenres of metal. I'll listen to some hard rock, instrumental music. I'll listen to Latin music. I'll like Latin, as in Latin music. That's what it's called. Jazz, big band music. I listen to, like, anything. Kai says, do you have a favorite chant? Okay, well, this is getting nerdy Catholic, because Gregorian chant is a Catholic thing. Oh, hey, I think this song is Rotato. Is this Time Jumper? I have no idea. I have no clue. I put this playlist together, like, months ago, and just never have used it. So I don't remember what this one is. But favorite chant, let's see. So, okay. There's obviously many renderings of certain chants. Let's see if I can find the particular... Give me a second. And chant is like a very old thing that expanded. There's Ben could talk about this for ages. I actually learned a lot of this through Ben. But there's like the advent of polyphony and polyphony, and let's see here. But anyway, there's a specific rendition of the Pange Lingua that I adore, because I adore St. Thomas's Thomas Aquinas's poetry. And that would be arguably not even traditional chant. It's definitely not Gregorian, obviously. But it depends on what you mean. It depends on what you mean. But I just, I remember the first time I read the translation. And it's just beautiful. Beautiful poetry. Yeah, so that's my answer on that one. But like in the other spaces, like I got into hip hop a lot later in life, sometime in post college, so like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, got into hip hop, and like there's just nothing coming out worth listening to these days. Even stuff that's like decent, it's just not inspiring. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. You would expect you would expect a lot. Given the circumstances that we've been put through for the last however many years. But I think the circumstances, arguably, predictably, actually produced worse art. So I don't know. I've been very discouraged about listening to music. I used to listen to music as much as I listened to other things while doing work. Like half and half. Like half the time I'm listening to music, half the time I'm learning something through some video. But nowadays it's like I almost never listen to music, other than for a particular purpose. It's just so uninspiring, and that's sad because I love to get inspired by other forms of art, and music is easy to listen to while doing other things. Just easy to consume as an art. I don't know. That's all I have to say about that, I suppose. Yeah, not a very direct answer so far, but that's the best I can do. The best I could do. Nathan says, have you heard Tame Impala? I've heard of them. Kai says, so did you think the last few years would make better art? And in either case, why do you think they didn't? Well, I don't know if I had a particular thought as to whether or not it would make better art. Specifically, but I guess, the idea is if people are stuck inside or forced inside, you think that time would breed and boredom would breed, effort, right? Would breed, good work. But it didn't. It really didn't. It didn't give us that much extra stuff. Anything particularly interesting. It's like the cycles just continued as normal. And I think part of the definitely the reason is that everyone's becoming depressed and anxious. Even in the underground. That sort of psychological damage is going to be pronounced. So, yeah. I guess I don't really know. I guess that's the real answer is I don't really know why. But that would be my intuitive guess. My intuitive guess. Nathan says, speaking of new music, Covet just dropped a new album a few days ago. New drummer and bassist, at least for some songs. Some were recorded long enough ago that the OG band members were still there. Also, I've 100% heard this song playing right now. I don't know where though. My YouTube video. This song is in one of my YouTube videos. Yeah, Covet is good. I've been to listen to Covet in a long time. But I'm interested to see did anything change, like with the new band members, or like in terms of the artistry, or is it like the same thing? I don't know how much. I think her name's like Yves or something. Nathan says, yeah, I'd say it's stylistically different. Oh, interesting. Maybe I'll check it out. But I don't know, like, I just feel like nothing speaks to the current moment very well. I don't know how to explain it better than that. Like, nothing is like giving, you know, the current listener what they need in order to flourish. Nathan says, how have you considered trying foreign music? Oh, Japanese, yeah. I mean, I've listened to... the Japanese are the only people who are, like, still into metal, apparently. I can listen... So there's some Japanese metal that is actually interesting. But, I still, like, I guess part of it is, like, I do like lyricism a lot. And, like, if I can't connect with the lyrics, it's kind of a big L to me. And, like, even, like, in metal, I don't tend to listen to some of the more core genres, right? Like, well, anything with core in it, right? I don't tend to listen... I'm barely a metalhead, if that makes sense. Like... You know, I float on the plane between metal and hard rock. Nathan says, from the translations I've heard of many Japanese rock songs, they don't seem to be all too crazy anyway. Very basic stuff. Yeah. I mean, I kind of suspect it. See, if it's gonna be a music-forward thing, I don't like when the vocals take too much prominence. I'd rather the music take even more prominence from the vocals. Because I don't mind the vocals being just an instrument, right? That doesn't bother me in of itself. But I just feel like a lot of times with bad lyrics, it just ends up being cringe when it's so lyrics forward in terms of the mix and the composition and stuff like this. Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah. Sorry, I'm like I'm trying to monitor multiple things at once. But yeah. Let's see here. Did I miss a no, I didn't miss a chat. I thought that's what I was looking through. I thought I missed a chat from Kai, but I did not. All right, any other questions for me? When I get off of this stream, I'm going to be specking out a business investment into a property with my wife, because we're looking at buying a property, and it's kind of crazy what we might be buying. When I say kind of crazy, it's like 4,700 square feet. So I'm not saying we will buy it, but we have to do some math. Possible details? Should I get into them or not? Well, I won't be too specific, just because there's nothing, like, all of this could fall through quite easily. But either, well, let's put it this way. I put up a poll on my YouTube channel like a week ago about what people would like to see pop up in our small town. And you know, I have an opportunity to do one of those things. And the poll options, some of those, this property can't do all of them. But you know, what things we're looking at is whether, because it's a commercial front basically, so it's a commercial building with apartments on the top, and it's on a very prominent street in town. It's on the basically main square of town, where the two of some of the busiest roads cross, and it's a corner lot, so it's actually quite valuable. Except, as everything is around here, it's quite cheap. So the question is what to do with it, and the math will dictate that. So we might end up renting the commercial space out to a business, which might make us quite a bit of money. But also, what we might do as well is start our own business in there, or do an Ariella project out of there. One of those Ariella projects has to do with broadcasting, which has to do with the esport thing I was talking about earlier. And that's a huge maybe. And the space might be divided even. Yeah, I don't want to say too much more than that, because I don't want to. I don't want, even putting these thoughts out there, leads to some sort of like attachment to these things when it's really just right now we've got to do the math and see if we should even be thinking about these options. So yeah, I would actually even say the most likely scenarios that we end up renting out, if we buy the place at all, is renting out the bottom unit to another business. And it's nice to be able to control what comes into town, because there have been some vagabonds who have bought some commercial real estate. It'd be great to sort of be the pre-filter for what ends up turning up on that corner, and there would be a sense of pride behind that too, in helping the town come up from its economic depression, which is really what it is. So yeah, so that's the plan as far as I can say. I would like to say more, but I can't. Okay, any other questions? No questions from Rumble people? Come on. Like, okay, right now there's 6 of you watching. Like, hot drop a question right now. And for reference, Nathan says Jeopardy song. Is that what this is? Oh no, lol. Oh, as the waiting song. Oh, gotcha. What was I saying? So for reference, just on that property thing, we would be renting out one of the apartments above for sure, and renting out the bottom. And the building is 4,700 square feet, and it's listed for $250,000. If you don't know how it's on the main corner of town, across from a beautiful building, diagonal from a beautiful building. It itself is a perfectly in shape building. Great neighbors. I know all the business owners around that location. Not all of them, but I know a lot of them. And they're super pro business, super welcoming people. Yeah. So if you understand the math there, $250,000 is nothing for such a massive property in such a prominent place. It's a good deal. The question is whether it's a good idea for us to tie up our money into that deal, because we could actually, prices are so cheap in Mount Carmel that we could buy, I don't know, like, we could buy 3 houses for that same price. We could buy, 2 2-unit houses for that price. That's how cheap the housing stock is here. And so this is a freaking amazing place. Yeah, that's why it's a little bit of a rough decision because we tie up funds and it's a bit bigger risk. And, I guess, you could make the argument that it's still pretty cheap, so how much of risk is it really? But, when you tie up money, there's opportunity costs. We talked about this in one of the episodes already about opportunity costs. It's like, okay, I tied up the money in this venture, and if it doesn't pan out, it's hard for me to get the money out of this venture and move it somewhere else. Right? So, yeah. But if it ends up being a studio... I said the word studio. A broadcasting location with maybe some sort of walk-in component to it. That would be a huge game changer to my business, and you'll be hearing all about it. And hopefully you'll just hear about me organically, because I think I'd be off to the races in terms of esports broadcasting. So that's all I have to say about that. I don't see any chats in Rumble, so maybe it's time to sign off. I enjoyed... I want... next time I do this, I want spicier questions, people. Like, get really spicy with it. I'm surprised, I've seen the AMAs out and about, it can get quite spicy. I like answering these questions like as openly as possible because I think you guys will realize how insane I am. As we talk about different topics, because I know a lot of really random things. And I'm involved in a lot of really random things. So, oh man. But we'll do this again at some other point, and maybe some of the other hosts will have an opportunity to do this at some other point. Nathan says, we'll unpeel the randomness as the guild wisdom expands. Yes. So, that being said, that's a good advertisement for our Discord. There's a link to our Discord in the description. That's the place that is going to become the home of our guild. It's been a poppin' place. It's been a great place to learn about a lot of different things that are super niche, pointing you to the right things because we have great artists on there. And I mean that. I'm not just saying that for just saying that sake. Like we have great artists on our Discord, really talented and driven people. So if you are an artist, or even if you're just a business person, because there's just so much business-related stuff that goes into this kind of thing, head over to our Discord. Free to join, and just lurk if you need to. If you don't want to contribute anything. But what will happen over time is we'll have some cool stuff coming out. Hopefully that guild wisdom sort of thing I was talking about earlier. And the concept of a guild as we develop that concept. If you want to become a local supporter, it really helps a ton. You go to mixedmedia.locals.com. If you're on Rumble, there's a link. There's a big button there. Shout out to our 4 awesome supporters: 99 Crime, Rob Sharma, Kai, Kakairos, and what else am I missing? And Post, for being awesome supporters. They make this whole podcast experience way more possible than we ever thought. And also shout out to the people who consistently watch on Rumble. You guys have been a huge impetus why we haven't given up as well, because it's easy to psych yourself out when you're a content creator, especially for something like this, which is like pretty just like talky and are we even interesting and all this kind of stuff. So the fact that we have an audience that comes back and watches our stuff and likes things and all that kind of stuff is super appreciated. Super appreciated. So yeah, just remember, hit that like button again. And we'll certainly see you next week for our AI roundtable, which will be super fun. Where we'll have all our hosts on and some special guests and whatever, and it won't be as drony as this one has been. And I will feel less weird as I have other people to talk to. But if you've enjoyed this at all, thumbs up. Let me know what you liked in the comments. And yeah, we'll see you next week. And bye.
Tell a man no trouble, I don't want beef, man, I just want vibes. Big man like me, no need for the telephone hype. I got too much getting online. One rule, then I'm on site. Wrong move, I bet they gon' ride. No need for the telephone hype, nah. No need for the snoozing. Big whip outside, I'm cruising. Big stick inside, no losing. Better watch out for the snake and Judas is. Don't ask them who this is. I bet they know what I'm moving in. I bet I show it into a dim. How you hate and then lose again? How you hating my vibes? Why you wasting my time? Getting hype on my line. Tell a man I don't want feedback, I just want relax. Brand new whip, two-tone, I need that brand new hit. You know, like lean back, brand new bits I live in. We pack, man, you never gon' like us. Get them on sight now, let them on light. That way they know I'm more righteous. Look at my life, I'm living alright. I'm nice, you know I'm alright. Cause looking like